With the 10th overall pick in the 2026 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever have selected the person that got waved off because they can't shoot, the person that was on the floor as UCLA is putting belt to South Carolina's ass, Raven Johnson.
Clark, a deep three!
Indiana Fever fans were expecting size. They were expecting front court help. They were expecting a safer move. Instead, Indiana made a pick that instantly confused people. They drafted Raven Johnson.
Indiana selects Raven Johnson, South Carolina. Raven Johnson, South Carolina.
And that is where this story gets really interesting, because Raven Johnson is not just another guard. She is the same player who made Caitlin Clark work for everything on one of the biggest stages in college basketball. Now she is walking into Indiana as Caitlin's teammate, and the more you look at this move, the more it feels like the Fever may have quietly revealed their real plan.
It seems like with every passing day, the WNBA becomes more of a clown show. Seriously. They got handed a golden goose in Caitlin Clark that literally has been turned into a new CBA where they're all actually earning a little scratch. You got players out there running their mouths about fans over their money. You've got a front office in the Indiana Fever's front office that seems completely clueless right now. You're drafting in a player that just drowned the fan base of the most popular player in women's sports. Arguably the most popular player in sports right now. Any sport, in Caitlin Clark.
At first, I had the same reaction a lot of people had. Why this pick? Indiana already has Caitlin Clark. They already added guard depth. They still have questions in the front court. They still needed more size. So when the Fever used the 10th pick on another smaller guard, it looked like the wrong fit and the wrong timing.
Basically, Steph White decided she wanted to talk about why the Fever drafted Raven Johnson. And what could it have been? She gives us a different look to Caitlin Clark. She's a different type of point guard. If we want to go with certain lineups, and we actually feel like she can play well at the 1 with Caitlin at the 2 because she's a good lateral passer, and we do feel like she'll hit Caitlin in positions. We feel like she can be a bit of a floor general and get the ball moving side to side, and get the ball into the scorers. We feel like she works off the ball due to her improved shooting. We feel like her elite defense gives us something we don't have on the perimeter, as in like when the fans were kind of trying to justify themselves. What if I told you Steph White said they drafted Raven Johnson because she went to South Carolina? I want to give a chance to kind of add on to something I've been saying, yada yada. And just the players coming out and coaching they got from Dawn Staley. And I can tell you they have great respect for the way that she prepares her players.
On paper, it did not make a lot of sense. But sometimes a move only looks bad when you judge it by the surface. Because the moment Raven started talking after the draft, the real reason Indiana liked her started to show. She talked about winning. She talked about mentality. She talked about defense, steals, and doing whatever it takes to help a team win. That matters. Indiana is not just trying to collect talent. They are trying to build a roster around a specific identity. And Raven Johnson fits that identity far more than people want to admit. This is not a player selling herself as a future superstar scorer. This is a player telling you exactly who she is. She is a defender. She is a disruptor. She is a worker. She is the kind of player who wants to make life miserable for the other team. And if you are building around Caitlin Clark, that kind of player starts to make a lot more sense.
Told you guys, this front office is inept. They don't know what they're doing. They're incapable of making sound decisions. They have no foresight. They have no thought. They have no rhyme. They have no reason. They have no idea. They have no clue. They are incapable. They are incompetent. Something told me as I'm watching this draft unfold, Lauren Betts slides to 4, Jaquez goes to Chicago at 5, Flaugier goes to the Valkyrie. I'm thinking to myself, yo, we're really about to draft this person. We are really about to draft this person. I knew Stephanie White. I knew it. Stephanie White watching South Carolina as she's doing her side gig, her side job, covering the women's basketball tournament. I knew it. She was going to talk herself into Raven Johnson.
Because Caitlin does not need another version of herself. She needs players who cover the gaps around her. And Raven might be one of those players. Now here is where the story gets even better. If you followed women's college basketball, then you already know there is history here. In the 2024 National Championship game, Raven Johnson was one of the defenders who made Caitlin Clark uncomfortable. When Raven got switched onto her, she did not look scared. She did not overreact. She stayed disciplined, stayed physical, and made Caitlin work for shots she normally gets with far less resistance. That is not something you can fake. That is not hype. Caitlin felt that herself. And that is why this draft pick hits differently. Indiana did not just draft a random prospect with upside. They drafted a player Caitlin already knows is annoying to play against. They drafted a player who has already shown she can defend at a high level in a pressure game. They drafted a player whose biggest strength is exactly the kind of thing championship teams always need more of. Think about what makes Caitlin Clark most dangerous. It is not just the threes. It is not just the passing. It is the pressure she puts on an entire defense every second she is on the floor. That pressure creates easier looks for everyone else. It creates space. It creates chaos. It creates opportunity. So if Raven can become a reliable defender, a transition creator, and even a decent spot-up shooter, suddenly this starts to look like the kind of role player Caitlin can unlock. That is the bet Indiana is making. And we have already seen versions of this. We have seen defensive-minded players look better next to Caitlin because of the way she bends the game. We have seen teammates benefit from easier reads, cleaner spacing, and more open opportunities. Indiana is basically saying, if Raven brings the defense and the effort, maybe Caitlin can help with the rest. That is the upside. But there is also a real risk here, and this is where the conversation gets serious. Raven is not coming into the league as a polished offensive player. She is not a proven scorer. She is not a shot creator. She is not someone you can just hand the ball to and expect instant production. And in the WNBA, that matters. This league is too good, too fast, and too unforgiving for one-dimensional players unless they are elite at something. So Indiana is gambling. They are gambling that Raven's defense is special enough. They are gambling that her work ethic is real enough. They are gambling that Caitlin Clark's presence can help raise the floor of Raven's offensive game. And they are gambling that they can afford to think beyond this season, even though this team is trying to win right now. That last part might be the biggest clue of all, because once you get deeper into the logic behind this move, it starts to look less like a draft night surprise and more like a long-term roster strategy. The Fever are staring at a future where keeping everybody together may get a lot harder. Big contracts, cap pressure, and roster turnover are real issues. That means rookie-scale players who can fill roles become incredibly valuable. Raven Johnson may not just be a bench piece, she may be insurance for the future. And that is the part casual fans miss. This pick may not have been about solving every problem today. It may have been about protecting Indiana from bigger problems tomorrow. That does not make it safe. It does not make it guaranteed, but it does make it logical. Now bring it back to Caitlin Clark. If this works, Caitlin is right in the middle of why it works. Because Indiana clearly believes her gravity changes everything. They believe playing next to her can speed up a role player's development. They believe a defender like Raven can become more useful, more playable, and more dangerous because Caitlin creates an easier environment for everybody around her. That is the real secret weapon angle here. Not just Raven by herself, but Raven becoming something more because of the player next to her. And that is why this is so fascinating. Raven Johnson might not be the flashy pick. She might not be the pick fans wanted. She might not even be a major contributor right away. But she could become one of the most revealing picks Indiana has made, because this move tells you exactly how the Fever see themselves. They want defenders. They want workers. They want cheap, controllable players with upside. And above all, they trust Caitlin Clark enough to believe that if they put the right pieces around her, she can help turn those pieces into winners. So did Indiana make the right call? That depends on what you think this season is really about. If it is only about plugging immediate holes, then this pick feels risky. If it is about building a team that can survive the pressure of a star-driven future while still chasing a title, then Raven Johnson suddenly looks a lot smarter. And that is why this pick is not boring at all. It is bold. It is uncomfortable. And if Indiana is right, Raven Johnson will not just be another rookie. She will be the secret weapon people laughed at first, right before they realized exactly why the Fever wanted her. If you're still watching, drop secret weapon in the comments.
Breaking news into First Take. The Chicago Sky have traded Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream. Atlanta is sending first-round picks in both 2027 and 2028 to acquire Reese in a 2028 second-round swap.
Clark, a deep
Angel Reese got traded, and the second she left Chicago, the whole story changed. Not slowly, not quietly, instantly. For 2 years, fans kept hearing that Chicago was not a destination. Too messy, too cold, too unstable, too far away from contention.
Crazy. Now I'm outside chilling, and my phone started ringing off the meter. I'm like, what the hell is happening in the W, bruh? I click on the link. Angel Reese traded. Oh no. I wanted to get everybody on here because when stuff like this happen, a lot of news start coming out as to why she was traded, the rumors behind it. Now we know the Chicago Sky gave up 2 first-round draft picks not even a week ago. They gave up these draft picks not even a week ago. And for them to give up these draft picks and now trade Angel Reese, Chicago in trouble. And we know for a fact there has been many fans wanting their president, I think his name Jonathan or John or something like that, to be fired.
But the moment Angel Reese was out, players suddenly wanted in. Skylar Diggins-Smith came in. Dejonai Carrington came in. Azura Stevens came in, Rickea Jackson arrived, and now the question is impossible to ignore. Was Chicago ever the problem, or was Angel Reese the reason nobody wanted to touch that situation? Because this does not look like a normal trade aftermath. This looks like a franchise finally exhaling. Now, to be fair, if you only looked at Angel Reese on paper, you would think Chicago gave up a star. 2 all-star appearances, double-doubles, rebounding numbers that made her look like one of the most productive bigs in the league.
Now, what does this mean for Angel Reese's career? Because from my understanding, I don't know if any player ever got out of their rookie contract like this. Like, in the WNBA. Like, have any player ever done this? Like this is like a new thing. So, you mean to tell me you could get drafted by a team, get out of your rookie deal with that team, you completely wasted their draft pick, because we got to remember, Chicago drafted Angel Reese in the first round. So now they wasted a pick. So not only did they lose those draft picks, they done lost the pick they got to get Angel. Like, we got to talk about that.
But basketball is not played on paper, and if those numbers were truly driving winning, then why did Chicago go 13-27 in her first season, and then somehow get even worse at 10-34 in the next one? That is not a contender taking its lumps. That is a team sinking deeper with the same centerpiece still in place. And that is where this whole thing starts to split in two, because the stat sheet told one story, but the results told another. Even the rebounding numbers need more context. The transcript makes the point that a lot of Reese's offensive boards came on her own misses. Miss, grab it back, go again, grab it back again. Yes, it counts as production. Yes, it boosts the numbers, but it does not always mean the possession was clean, efficient, or helping the team flow. So when people saw the rebound totals and treated them like proof of dominance, Chicago may have been looking at the same possessions and seeing something else entirely. And that is before we even get to the bigger issue, because the real turning point in this story is not the stats. It is the locker room. According to the source material, the tension around Reese was not just rumor, it was building for a while. Courtney Vanderloot, one of the most respected players tied to Chicago basketball, reportedly became part of that tension after comments about age and reliability.
Chicago Sky's second-year superstar Angel Reese has been the talk of women's basketball community for the past several days, ever since she was quoted in the September 3rd, Chicago Tribune article calling out her organization for several things, including asserting that she would have no problem leaving the franchise if they didn't improve the roster via free agency. At one point in the article, Reese asserted, quote, "We can't rely on Courtney to come back at the age that she's at. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before."
Camila Cardoso, who looks much more like the future Chicago actually wants to build around, was described in the transcript as reaching a point where she walked away from a team's situation involving Reese. Then came the suspension.
Ocho, Angel Reese got suspended for the first half of a game, saying her teammates suck. The Sky made a statement saying, the Chicago Sky values the safety, respect, and well-being of every player. We are committed to accountability so our players can stay focused on playing basketball. Because of the statements detrimental to the team made by Angel Reese during a league-mandated media, she will not play in the first half of the game September 7th against the Las Vegas Aces. This matter has been handled and resolved internally, and we're moving forward as a team.
And that matters, because franchises do not suspend players for fun. By the time a team gets there, the quiet conversations have already happened. The warnings have already happened. The patience is already gone. That is why this trade feels different. Chicago did not move Angel Reese like a team reluctantly losing a franchise cornerstone. Chicago moved her like a team that had already decided the situation was costing more than it was worth. And the return tells you that too. Atlanta sent future picks, not a proven star, not a major roster piece. Future picks. That is the kind of package teams accept when they want closure more than leverage. If a franchise truly believes a player is central to its future, it usually squeezes for every last ounce of value. It waits, it shops, it negotiates. Chicago did not act like that. Chicago acted like it wanted the chapter over, fast. Then came the most brutal part of the whole story. The second the trade was done, Chicago got active. Skylar Diggins-Smith, a real floor general, came in. Dejounai Carrington, one of the league's toughest perimeter defenders, came in. Azura Stevens, a veteran who understands winning basketball, came in. Rickea Jackson, a young scorer with real upside, came in. And what makes this hit so hard is not just the names, it is the timing. These players did not need weeks. They did not hesitate. They did not look at Chicago and run the other way. They came quickly. So that old excuse that nobody wanted Chicago, that story died the second Angel Reese was gone. That is what makes this so damaging for her image. Chicago did not just replace a player. Chicago replaced the whole mood around the franchise. The team looks cleaner. The fit makes more sense. The build now clearly runs through Camila Cardoso. Not chaos, not stat chasing, not noise. Cardoso feels like a player you can actually construct around. Someone who plays inside structure, someone who does not force every possession to orbit around her. And while Chicago was rebuilding its image in real time, Atlanta was left holding the other side of the gamble. Because now the pressure shifts to Angel Reese. In Chicago, she could blame the franchise, she could blame the roster, she could blame the market. But in Atlanta, that excuse starts disappearing. This is a team with Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray. There is talent there. There is spacing there. There are real scorers there. So if Atlanta struggles to attract more players, or if the chemistry gets weird, or if the same questions start following her, then it stops looking like bad luck and starts looking like a pattern. And that is exactly why the free agency angle matters so much. The source material frames Reese as frustrated that players were not lining up to join her in Atlanta. But if that is true, then the answer was already sitting right in front of her. Chicago, the place everyone said nobody wanted, suddenly became attractive the moment she was gone. That is not random. That is not coincidence. That is the league reading the room. Players talk, agents talk. Reputations travel faster than press releases. And if free agents were more comfortable joining Chicago without Angel Reese than joining Atlanta with her, that tells you more than any box score ever could. Now bring Caitlin Clark into this, because that comparison is what really twists the knife. Caitlin Clark walked into Indiana when the Fever were at the bottom, and the effect was immediate. The team got more dangerous. The spacing changed, the energy changed, the ceiling changed. Clark makes life easier for teammates. She bends the floor, she creates room, she raises the value of everyone around her. Angel Reese, based on how this transcript frames it, had the opposite effect in Chicago. One player became a foundation, the other became a problem teams wanted solved. And that is the brutal truth sitting underneath this entire story. Angel Reese leaves Chicago as a two-time All-Star, but Chicago's actions say they believed their future got better the moment she left. Then the rest of the league seemed to agree because talent started showing up right away. That is why this story is so big. It is not just that Angel Reese got traded, it is that Chicago moved on fast, and they looked relieved doing it.